Hello, welcome to Coffee Weekly. I am Gabriel, I guess, the guest of the week. I'm honored to be here, excited and a little bit nervous.
So, what are we going to talk today about?
I guess we're gonna talk about managing discomfort.
Thanks so much for the introduction, Gabriel. Exactly. So, my name is Hendrik, and today we are here with Gabriel and
Sheldon as well. And I think I felt that Gabriel is a little bit under some discomfort right now.
I'm trying to manage.
I'm managing the discomfort of having to wake up really early for this call because I'm in a different time zone. But we talk about this later because we still have one guest to be introduced.
Am I really a guest? But hey, I'm Otto. Nice to have you all there. And yeah, I mean, I think managing discomfort is a topic that we maybe get to every day, not by choice, but because it comes to us. So maybe that's also a very interesting topic that we can talk about today in our perspectives. So maybe a very simple question. What was the last thing you remember, like the top of your mind, that was the most uncomfortable, like a really annoying situation? Who has a good example?
So, actually, I can start quickly, and it was actually yesterday. It was like, first of all, I agree so much. Like, often discomfort comes to us, but this one, I think I kind of chose myself. But it was actually asking for a raise at my job. It's the first time I actually asked for a raise, and yeah, I was actually preparing a little bit for that. Most of the people, they don't ever ask for a raise, which is, I think, a terrible thing. Because if you increase your value, you should, of course, also get more. That's like how economics work. And yeah, it was a kind of weird situation for me. And I think I managed okay-ish, not perfect. We can maybe go later into details. But yeah, what was for me important was, anyways, I was stressed, I tried to relax. And now I would pass the mic back to the round. What other discomforts did you guys have?
Not so fast. How did it go?
Okay, let's say the call was good. There is no final decision. And yeah, so there was like, I tried to make it as calm as possible. I felt like that my talking partner was also tense, let's say like that. So I think it's also interesting, like if people interact in uncomfortable situation with each other, or if it's just your own. So this also brings dynamics in. And yeah, like you really have to focus on communication in this time, because every word matters, and every word can actually bring up an entire world of thoughts in your talking partner. And I think there was one miscommunication in between that raised the tension again, and that I managed to solve later on. Because first I have to think, like, did he understand the way I said, or does he think something else? Because I don't want to say like my talking partner is stupid and he doesn't understand what I say. But so it's like a very fine line that you have to go if you're in an uncomfortable situation with other people, because the stress level is so high and it can explode so quickly. In the end, I think my talking part, I'm pretty sure he understood what I was mentioning. But yeah, anyways, that's why I said it was okay and not perfect. Like, I left actually with a kind of mixed feeling, the call. And yeah, it will be continued. But I think it was worth it to start and trying to keep as calm as possible, because like if you keep calm, there's a high chance your opposing partner will also stay calm.
I think that's a very good example, because that is probably the situation that most people at some point experience in this way, or in a similar way, that you have someone that you work for them or with them, but you also need them because you need the money and you kind of want more. So I have one question to you, Gabriel, actually. So imagine you had the same situation as Hendrik. You have the objective, you have your work, and you want to get a pay raise. How would you approach this?
Sorry, let me interrupt.
Yes.
So, or maybe something more specific, because, and Gabriel, if you want to give a little preface of what you do as work, and I'm giving a little bit of a hint. So if you go to a gig and you want to charge more for that, how would you approach?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm a music producer. I work in music, and what I mostly make money in right now is gigs. So I play on stage with the projects or the artists I'm working with, and so it's difficult for me to say what would I do, because it depends on my relationship with the artist or the project. Like for instance, I'm working with an artist called Lisette, and I know their economical situation or financial situation. We're very close, like siblings, and I know what they earn. They know what I earn. So it's, I have to also like be considerate, because they don't make that much money. I cannot ask for more money than they get for the gig. So, but I guess also I'm not I don't have a regular salary. I'm self-employed kind of, and I do my own invoices and stuff. So
yeah. I mean, like the difference is that you don't have like a manager or like a person that you report to all the time, but that means you have the situation of asking for a budget for a raise kind of all the time, right? Because every project they ask you how much, or maybe they tell you how much it is and you kind of find a wiggle room. Or is there any situations where you didn't know their budget, so it was I don't know, a paid gig and they just ask you how much do you want?
Yeah, actually it's been a variety of reports. Like sometimes I don't know what I'll get, because they don't know what they'll get. So sometimes we just have to wait for them to pay us, and then we share then we split the money. Sometimes we have a set amount, then I know. Sometimes it's a low amount, but then I just go to support my friend and to, I mean, money is money, and for me, money is important.
Are you like, is the conversation for money for you uncomfortable, or is it okay?
For me, it's in this project, it's quite okay, because we're so close. It doesn't mean it's not gonna start anything. They're not my boss. We're equal, and we talk about this as siblings would. It's not uncomfortable like that. But I guess there are other projects I worked with where there have been discomfort when talking about money.
Yes, that's a good example.
Yeah, I think with this what you said is something that it reasons to me. For example, because I also have this hard time asking for a raise. I think I can count like a handful of times that I ask for a raise, and I also don't manage well the discomfort of asking for leave to leave for another company. So I have been very privileged of never being fired. So every time that I change jobs, I have to ask to leave, and I get very, very nervous because of that. And I think when I think about it, I think some of it is some unknown parts. So for example, talking about raise, you know that the person that you're working with, you know what you can ask based on, because you have a very good idea of their financial situation. And with the companies, we don't follow up with everything that they, like the stocks or whatever, or lots of compensation, and not something that you can. So you don't know if you can ask for that. So for me, it's really, really hard to do that. But I try to use reason when I into these situations. So there's two things that I usually do. One is so there's this concept. I don't know who talked about it, but they usually say that being nervous and being excited is kind of the same thing psychologically speaking. So whenever I'm very nervous, I'm going to be like, well, this is going to be really nice. It's going to be really cool. I'm very excited. And sometimes it works. And then the other thing that I do is I try to challenge my fears with reason. So for example, I'm going to ask for a raise. Okay, what's the worst scenario? My manager is going to be thinking that I'm going to be like not grateful for my current salary, so they are going to feel that I'm not like that I'm a brat or something. I don't know. And then I talk to myself. Oh, this doesn't make sense. Like I'm just an employee. They can, if I ask for a raise that doesn't make sense, they are going to say no, and then move on with my life. So I try to like talk me up, and most of the times it works. And lastly, because we are still just on one example, Hendrik's example. So the last thing that I usually do is, so for these things, I don't manage quite well, but most of the times I manage well with these two things that I do. And I try to always seek so this is my comfort line. I always try to be here, slightly above the comfort zone, just to always keep growing. And being comfortable is kind of a muscle as well. So the more you're more comfortable with the discomfort, the more you're going to be more and more comfortable with being even more discomfortable.
What you just said.
You basically grow every time, of course, if you have your fixed circle of whatever it is, your couch. But if you go step one ahead, then you have a bigger couch, so to say. But I mean, the more we talk about like discomfort and work in general, I mean, I just realized that isn't for the most part, isn't work just paid discomfort in some way?
Yeah.
I mean,
I can agree
so
on that.
I mean, okay, maybe you're also like in a different situation again, because I mean, I would say for, let's say the common employment type, you would be told what to do in some ways, or you have a free room in some way, but you go there and you go home and that's it. But when you're freelancing or when you're your own boss, how does that play out? I mean, is your work like, does it feel similar to, you know, I mean, you get paid for your own discomfort, or is it so much fun that you don't even feel uncomfortable working?
Is that directed to me?
Yes.
Yes. Like, sure, I work with music and that's fun, but it's also work, and I do projects that are not fun also. It's a mix, but of course, I couldn't imagine myself sitting in an office and doing and crunching numbers or whatever. But of course, there's not always enjoyment in music. Like if I record vocals, generally, if I need to edit vocals, that is like crunching numbers to me. It's horrible. It's discomfort 100%.
But then you still do it, right? You still do it because you have to.
Yeah,
but you want to.
Yeah, and I guess managing that discomfort to go through a process to get to a good end result. Then I just try and focus on, but this is gonna sound so good. I'm gonna be so relieved when it's done. Then I can finish the whole product, and then I'll be done, and then I will enjoy listening to it. So you kind of have to set the goal, like I will reach an end result that is gonna sound good. So this is worth the time. This is worth the discomfort.
I mean, yeah, I can see so many analogies, because before what Sheldon said of discomfort eventually growing into comfort, and as you explained, the more work you put into, the more relieved you will be in the end. But I'm also pretty sure that, I mean, this is kind of like a gambling, because let's say if you, I don't know, you have a very like work that is very, I don't know, what's it? I mean, easy to understand. Carry these boxes from there to there. You know exactly what's going to happen. You're going to be there. You know the process, and you're going to be there. But with music, I think it's maybe a bit more abstract. So let's say you put a lot of work into it. It's really uncomfortable. You spend hours and hours, and your brain is working nonstop, and you don't sleep much, and you wake up, and it's shit. What do you do?
to be honest, yes, I relate to that, but that was some years ago. I think I've grown to a point now where I know that it's not gonna sound shit, and if it does sound shit, I can manage it. I can polish it to not sound like shit. Of course, there's gonna be songs that I'm not, that's not representing my creative mind because the artist wants it, you know. But I will always make it sound as good as I can make it sound in my ears, even if it's not my type of music. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe Henrik, do you have another example? Like the previous example you had was really good, or do you have any thoughts on how to manage discomfort?
Yeah, on managing, like, first of all, like, I really see some analogies. Like, during our discussion, I noticed like a lot of discomfort comes from interacting with other people. I think there's probably some, yeah, really, like, I think there is some discomfort that just comes from life, illness, for example. So this stuff just randomly happens, but most of the discomfort, or like, let's say like catastrophe from nature, this is also something, but most of the things, discomfortable things, I think are human made. But I also see, like, as we talked, it's usually an investment. So it's worth taking usually. It's a reason why we go through this discomfort. So basically the want behind the discomfortable thing has to be higher than the border to get over there. And yeah, like, there's also, like, I think different situations. Like, for example, like, sometimes it can be discomfortable for both types, but I think with Gabriel's situation, I think it's more uncomfortable for one side and comfortable for the other side. So for example, Gabriel's discomfort is the comfort of someone else. So yeah, I think this is actually a very interesting topic to see from different sides.
Yeah.
And also does, sorry, go ahead.
No, I just said, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. I mean, also the way I sleep more, that, I mean, it seems like the goal in the end is comfort after all, right? But now let's say we skip the road to comfort. We just land at comfort. What happens if we just, you know, we wake up and you're like, oh, I have apartment where I live, I have water, I have food. I'm not gonna do anything today. Why is that uncomfortable for, like, if you do it for a long time, you will feel bad. Why? What is this? How long would you go without any task?
Yes. Sheldon, do you unmuted yourself?
Yeah, so I think I can say a little bit about this because I've experienced myself with that. It's been there was one time that I was in between internships, and I spent like 6 months not doing much, and I also, like, there was some stuff at school that I wasn't going to school as well, so I was just basically at home. And just for context, because I believe some people, they do internship, like they stop studying and then they do internship and then they come back to studying, where I did my graduation. We do, like, we study, like, for example, in the evening, and then we do the internship during the day. So that's what I did, but there was a time that I wasn't doing anything, and this lasts for 3 months or something. And on the 3rd month, I was like, oh, I cannot stand this. And then now that I'm busy most of my time, I wonder if I want to go back to that time, but I kind of remember how bad it was. And sometimes I listen to podcasts and people talk about this, and they say that people, like, especially men, I don't know the research on that, but I don't know what makes men more suitable for projects. But basically, one guy even said that for women, they like to handle bad emotions, they try to make a wrap for her to be comfortable, and then for men, they give them a project to work on, because then they will work on the on the project, and this will make the bad emotions to dissipate or something. So I might have butchered the idea.
What did they do for women? I didn't understand it from audio.
It's basically, so they create frameworks, conceptual frameworks to wrap the person around a comfortable, where they can be vulnerable and not feel threatened.
What is it for women? For men, it's projects, and for women?
So for women is that, so there's no one thing. So basically you find ways to make her not feel threatened. And I don't know if this is true or not. Don't quote me on that. I don't know if the research is peer reviewed or whatever. But basically, I found this interesting because I felt that for me, like when I'm working on something and I feel like motivated, but there's also the other end of the spectrum. Like if it's too hard, I feel like this is not for me, and then it goes really bad. Like I feel very like depressed or something. And there's a book called Flow where the guy explains this in more details, which is basically you have to be a little bit over the comfort zone, but not too much, because otherwise you'll get like really stressed and unmotivated.
But on the topic of risk taking and how individual people take it, I mean, of course, I mean, you can argue that, I mean, from societal reason and cultural reason, maybe religious reason, that of course there's some genders pushed into maybe more risk taking or less risk taking. But I think, I mean, I would try to understand why that would be the case. I mean, still, if you today would have more choices than, let's say, like 1,000 years ago or something, because, okay, maybe from a biological difference, I mean, as a man, you can take great risks, and I don't know, you can, let's say you can fuck around, but you won't have a problem. But you don't have to bear a child in that sense. So, but of course, the biological difference, if you were a woman and you want to bear a child, you know that you will have to have like survival and food and shelter for 9 months. At some point, it will be hard for you or harder for you to provide for yourself. So maybe that's, I mean, I'm not a scientist, not a biologist. Maybe that's one reason why we associate less risk taking with women in that sense. But also, I would say, yeah, it just feels like that, especially maybe younger male people would tend to go more risk taking. They do crazy things, and they crash and they recover. But what I think about my personal environment, I don't really see much of a difference. I don't really see that the women I know, or non-binary or anyone, there's like, I can't tell that people who based on the genders have different risk-taking behaviors. I would say maybe more based on the field, what they do. So I would say people that work in the creative field, I would say, I mean, also not really risk-taking, but there's more depth and more variation to the actions. Whereas people in engineering or, I don't know, office jobs or anything that is more structured, that would be more like less risk-taking. You would more adhere to the structure that you're used to, and you know that, oh, I should do this because that is bad, and maybe less to your own, like maybe your feelings you have. But I would love to hear your opinion on this, Gabriel. What do you think about the differences in risk-taking, and what are the factors to
that? Yeah, my first reaction when you talked about the difference between men and women, and like men should maybe focus on a project to make the discomfort or the problems disappear or whatever. It sounds a bit like the core is that men has not been taught the tools to managing their own feelings, so they keep it inside and they don't process their discomfort or their negative feelings. So because they don't have the tools, maybe just focus on a project and distract yourself from your problems, you know. But that seems a bit counterproductive, because it feels like then the problem stays, but you just oppress it. It stays there, but it's just staying there, like an infection that might grow and become. It might even take over your life in the end.
Yeah, I didn't like this example of this podcast because like it's like gender specific and like there's this thing that you just said, and I think like those gender specific stuff is usually a social construct. Like it's because the way men live is not because of the gender. But I think I have another analogy that is more generic, and when I think about life, I mean, life is movement, right? So electrons are moving on the microscopic thing, planets are moving, the universe is moving. And if you, and there's this thing in physics that if you go to 0 Kelvin, everything stops. And there's this thing that if everything stops, even time stops. So, and I'm butchering a lot of physics concepts here, but basically what I want to say is that movement is life. Only the dead are still, so we should seek for like always doing something. And yeah,
but that's a very good point that I can also maybe like relate to. If you think about like people that I know in my personal environments or big figures in life, I mean, I don't know the full backstory, for example, Elon Musk, but I definitely know he didn't have a good childhood. And many people that are very successful, like very ambitious, they tend to have not such a good past. I mean, maybe this, as you say, it's an escape. I mean, I can also relate it very much to myself. I mean, I didn't have the worst childhood, but I just know that, of course, if you focus on something else, I mean, you can keep yourself busy. I mean, nonstop. But at some point, eventually, one day or the other, they will come back to you and you'll be like, yeah, you have emotions. Like, it doesn't matter what gender you are or what you want to be. It's just like you have feelings. As Henrik said, there might be like, okay, illnesses, or there might be like, I don't know, emotional issues. You might have needs that are not met. You might have, I don't know, experiences that you didn't like, or traumas, or people that really annoy you, but you can't get out of them, or you, I don't know, work and your manager really sucks, and it can all be all of that. And I maybe see the point, as you said, like if you're taught to, especially our older generations, our parents and their parents, like if you just keep working and you're hardworking and you work yourself way up and you study and you get a house and a wife and a dog and your life will be good. But I don't think this model has been working very great historically. Maybe to some degree, but yeah, at the end of the day, we have to deal with what is inside of us. I mean, we can use this as a energy source, as a source, you know, like if you have a lot of, I mean, emotional pain, for example. I mean, I would say most very successful songwriters, I don't think they had a very like easygoing, harmonic, nice childhood with their friends, and they had a horse and they were riding every day. I think they went through some really shit, because this creates like deep, you know, maybe scars and like really, really deep depth, but also very high highs. And I would say as a listener, you would be more engaged by someone who has like waves going up and down, other than someone who just tells me, I had a regular childhood. I'm going to work today, and then I will drive my car home. And some beat underneath. You know?
I can relate to that. Sorry.
No, please.
Okay, so now that we're talking about it, when I look back on my life, I've basically been managing discomfort my whole life, because so I was born and raised in a very religious family, and I'm a homosexual guy, and it's not been sunshine all my life. It's been a lot of like processing my own, you know, a lot of therapy, a lot of different phases of depression and anxiety and stuff like that. So discomfort is kind of my comfort, because that's where I grew up. And these days, now I'm 33 years old, and these days I'm trying to stay in the quiet, in the give myself space and not distract myself from the negative stuff, to actually deal with the negative stuff instead of just postponing an explosion or postponing all the negativity. Because if I deal with it now, it gets easier to deal with. Because if I just push it forward, it's gonna get even worse to handle, you know.
Yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think I can relate to that because I did have some experiences with not fitting in the norm. I'm a very sensitive guy, and even though being heterosexual, I've been confused with being gay a lot of times, and this really sucks. And I think that's why it makes me very, very supporter of the LGBTQ plus community. Because I feel their pain, and a little bit, of course. And then also like religion, as I said, I'm not a religious person, but my whole family and the whole city, Brazil, my country, is a very religious country. And this made me being under discomfort for a long period of time. And it kind of like honed this skill. And also made me think of dealing discomfort as a skill that you can hone, that you can practice. And I will close my thoughts with another analogy, which is imagine a very heavy car, and it gets really, really hard at the beginning to get some speed. But once you get some speed, then inertia comes in, and you go fast, and you get movement. And movement again is the word. So I'm going to close with this word: get some movement.
Okay, nice. I will pick up with my closing thoughts from here. Thanks so much. Like, it was actually so inspiring when you said, Gabriel, discomfort is your comfort. Like, this sticked with me. So what I want to finish like with this entire discomfort episode, and thanks so much for sharing all the emotional things that's going on. That's very valuable for me. My girlfriend puts it this way. Like, she always says, like, we have this deficit thinking. So we are always thinking on our deficits. And honestly, I think even though it's a good thing mentally to be happy of what you have, it's anyways what brought us here as a society. I don't think we would be going to the Mars. We would be going to the moon. We would have self-driving cars if we were just happy with what we have. It's what keeps us moving forward, like the next big thing. And this is like a lot what makes us humans human. So I would say to every listener, like, go ahead, go in your discomfort for the better. It's like always great to improve your life. Just do it and you will find a way to solve the discomfort.
Maybe I can continue, and then Gabriel, you can do the closing of the closing thoughts. So I would say my takeaway for the topic of managing discomfort is, the way I see it is, discomfort usually comes when a need or a wish or a desire is not met. And that is usually because you want property X to be there, but maybe it's here or there. It's just not where you expect it to be. But the way I see it is, of course, this will not make you feel great because it's not how you expected it to be. But the way I think is much more beneficial, and that can really make a person shine and make you feel better about yourself as well, is to not think about, let's say you want to be a basketball player and you should just be, I don't know, 2 meters tall or even taller, but you're like, I don't know, 160. But then, of course, you're going to be sad if you want to be that tall. But I would say do the other way around. Think of everything you are as a property without value. There's nothing, there's like left and right. I mean, there's nothing right or wrong. And take that you know, the things you maybe cannot change or the things you can change a little bit, and work with them instead. So you could be a jet pilot, for example, because they should be small. I mean, there is just many, many things you should just think about. And it does become a problem when you're planning something that you cannot really change. I mean, it's a better way to observe and then connect the dots, because that will most of the time work and feel easier, and you just fall into the success. That's my takeaway. You're good as you are, everyone.
Yeah, Gabriel last. But Otto, like maybe we have 3 minutes left. Like maybe can you, like very, very short, also tell one story of your discomfort? I think you didn't like mention your discomfort and emotional perceivedness. I don't know if you can come up with in the last time without taking too much time from Gabriel.
I mean, my discomfort was mostly around, I mean, it has been many discomforts, but many small ones. Let me just pick one. I mean, for me, it was mostly I wanted to be more an outgoing person, but my environment was not very outgoing. So I was gaming, I was like staying in those circles with more introverted people, IT people, and I was like, I don't like this. So I had the feeling I had to choose between people. I didn't want to lose my friends, but I know I just want to meet someone every fucking day sometimes, most of the time. So I just realized, okay, maybe it's nothing wrong with them, nothing wrong with me. Maybe I can just go out and find other people and maybe have both. I mean, I still keep contact with friends that I like, maybe not as often because maybe the topics are not what concerns me right now the most, but I can also I don't have to stop myself. I mean, nobody of my friends tells me not to go out, right? So there was a thing that once I started accepting that this is a property, it made me feel very, very, very good. There was a short story. But now, Gabriel, you have the honor of closing this episode. You open it, you may close it.
I may close it. Thank you. Yeah, I can just, I guess I'll just say discomfort is not such a bad thing. It's not bad. It makes us strive for comfort. It makes us solve problems. It makes us invent new technology. We evolve because of discomfort. New innovations come because of discomfort, or it's like problem solving. We find an error and we fix it. Those errors are maybe not so comfortable, but it's not bad. Discomfort is not a bad thing. Keeps us moving, as you said. It's a good thing. So
that was great.
Yeah.
I'm just cutting it short because we're having a technical limit and a hard stop. Thank you very much, and thank you very, very much for Gabriel for being here. And see you next time. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.